Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we're gonna discuss about orchids with one or two or several rotting pseudobulbs. What happens if you actually leave these pseudobulbs on? Now, before we start this video from the get-go, I just want to point out that any ill or affected tissue on the orchid which spreads, which has an infection, can actually take over the entire orchid. Therefore, whenever we're dealing with sick pseudobulbs, with rotting pseudobulbs, it is actually advisable to remove that pseudobulb completely. And to do so, there are a few techniques. I'll link it down below to a video that I made a long time ago. Sometimes you can actually twist them off, but if they're too mushy, you can just cut them. I do remember I did a video about this, so check the description down below. However, though, in this case, the situation was a little delicate. So what we have here is my Bellara, what I identified as Winter Wonderland. It was actually mislabeled. So actually one of the prettiest orchids that I have. I absolutely love Bellaras. I really care a lot about this orchid, especially because it has been sent to me by a really lovely lady. And what happened was the new growth started to grow, which was this one. It was the first one that appeared, and the pseudobulb started to rot. If I would have removed the pseudobulb, the new growth might have died along with it. However, though, this orchid started to produce another new growth on this back bulb here, and another one just growing right here. So in my mind, at the time, it was like, okay, if the infection starts to transfer to the other pseudobulb, I will just definitely divide the orchid, end of story, and yeah, hopefully a back bulb will start a new growth. But now I have multiple new growths. I think it is time to actually remove the rotting pseudobulb just so I sleep better at night, because look at it, it's absolutely horrible. And I will try to do so without actually affecting the new growth, because if you didn't know, these pseudobulbs are actually connected through a rhizome, which is pretty hard to see, but everything is actually connected. So this is how this new growth was able to grow, because even if the pseudobulb, which is the mother pseudobulb, cannot actually feed the new growth, the other ones can. So what I'm trying to do today is to remove the pseudobulb without affecting the rhizome, which connects everything, and hopefully I'll do a good job. But if I don't, that's okay, because I have two new growths in the back. So pretty much this is how a rotten pseudobulb looks like, and I will need to put gloves for this. Somebody was actually asking, why am I wearing gloves? Because it's nice, it's hygienic. So just look at this pseudobulb. It is completely mush. The tissue inside is damaged to such an extent that it will never reverse. Once you have a rotting pseudobulb, or any other structure for that matter, the tissue cannot be healthy again because it is completely destroyed. So this rotting started here. I'm guessing a wound got infected as the leaf maybe came off a little bit from the pseudobulb, and it affected everything. But I'm looking at the other pseudobulbs and I don't really see any signs. This is just pigmentation on this one. So everything else looks okay, thankfully. So let's go ahead and remove this pseudobulb. So I got myself some brand new cutters. I don't need to sterilize them, and I'll just use, I think, the biggest one in this package. And now I'm not entirely sure how to go about this, but what I will always try to keep in mind is not to remove the base of the pseudobulb. I would rather do some additional maintenance afterwards than actually cutting too much and removing this new growth separately. If we remove new growths from sympodial orchids at this stage, chances are they will not make it. They need to have a mother pseudobulb or pseudobulbs to feed them and to help them. This growth is just growing roots, but they're not capable of actually absorbing anything yet. So I will need to be very careful and not talk while I'm doing this. So enjoy the music. So here we have it. I think this is the best that I can do, that I'm comfortable to do actually at this moment. But for now, let's seal off this wound. First, I'm going to use hydrogen peroxide 3% that I have in this spray bottle. What this will do is actually damage a layer of cells, a layer of tissue here. It will sterilize as well the area. It will seal it a little bit through the damage that it will create. I can hear it fizz. If you've never worked with hydrogen peroxide, it is absolutely normal for it to fizz. So I'm just going to let it act a little bit and get rid of the pseudobulb remains, which, by the way, they're pretty gross. I actually changed my gloves. They smell pretty bad. They smell a little bit like spoiled fruit, actually. So I'll come back with the final step in the sealing process. And to seal the deal, as they say, I'm going to be using ground cinnamon or cinnamon powder. You can find it at the supermarket. I placed a little bit of powder on a napkin, and because it is actually a big wound, I'm actually going to pour a little bit of this cinnamon here. There we go, and then I'm going to spread it. If you're new to the hobby or to my channel, I personally use cinnamon powder as a drying agent. I want a layer of this tissue to be dry. If something is dry and it is kept dry, it cannot get reinfected. Pathogens need moist environments to travel and to actually proliferate. So if I don't give them this moist and wet environment, they obviously cannot survive. So that's why we're using cinnamon, at least me, and not only. Some people say it has antifungal and antibacterial properties. I don't know about that. I cannot really test it. What I do know is that it helps with drying tissue a lot faster than if we don't use it. So for now, this area, I will maintain it very, very dry. I'm not going to pour water there. I'll be careful not to remove the cinnamon that I placed here. And as you can see, I do have quite a bit of open tissue here, but right now I wouldn't have been comfortable to remove more. I do want to try to save this growth as well. So let's just take a look. Let's remove this sheath. So if we look closer, we can see that the new growth is actually connected to this rhizome of the orchid, which connects all of the pseudobulbs. At the base of each pseudobulb, we do have that rhizome. New growths are not produced by the fleshy part, actually, of a pseudobulb, but by its more woody part that we call a rhizome. And this is how we can explain that this new growth developed normally and was hydrated and fed up until this point, even though its mother pseudobulb was really sick and could not do anything. If you've noticed, on oncidiums or bellaras or intergenerics, the growths really do appear from way beneath the pseudobulb. That's where they start, and then they elongate upwards, and that's because they do actually sprout from the rhizome. So for now, I think I am okay, and I think I will not lose this growth, but of course I'll keep you up to date. However, this is not the only orchid which I left a rotten pseudobulb on. I do have another one which was purely for testing. Alrighty, so this is my Oncidopsis Lazio. We had her in bloom a few months ago, I think at the beginning of the year. She's leaning a lot right now. She had 2 or 3 flower spikes on the pseudobulb, which was a double pseudobulb, if you remember. And I wanted to repot her actually, but then I decided not to. As you can see, she's still in my old setup with the pebbles, but she's doing okay. She has quite a lot of roots, so she wasn't really all that urgent. Also, I noticed that the oldest pseudobulb on this orchid started to rot, and it looked very similar to the Bellara pseudobulb. It was the same thing. The pseudobulb got mushy, brown, and I actually always wondered what would actually happen if you let the pseudobulb. Would it actually transfer the infection, which sounds very logical, and of course I'm sure it is possible. But because I'm doing videos and sometimes it's interesting to do stuff you shouldn't do just to show people what can happen so they don't do it, pretty much like my lechuza test, I just decided to leave it on. And what do you know? This pseudobulb actually continued to decline, as you can see, until it completely dried off. And there we have it. I can actually remove it very easily right now. Now this pseudobulb does not pose any more threat to my orchid or any of its structures because it is completely dry. So within 2 months, maybe 3 months, this pseudobulb got brown, got mushy, and then it simply dried away, and this is what remained of it. You can see it's very mushy, or actually raisin-like at this point. It's not liquid anymore, it's absolutely dry, you can see. So at this point, it actually doesn't pose any threat to my orchid or any other orchid. As you can see, the infection or whatever it was did not go further to the other pseudobulbs, which is great. The leaves you see on each side of the pseudobulb, they were not sick or anything, they're just very old leaves, and in time any orchid loses its old leaves. It's part of the refreshing regeneration process they all go through, but these leaves have been spent a long time ago. Other than that, you can see the orchid is quite okay. And the new growth looks pretty promising. I can go ahead and repot this orchid now, but there you have it. There are instances in which a rotten pseudobulb actually doesn't transfer the disease further. So alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you found it interesting, and I really do want to get rid of these gloves right now. I'll keep you up to date with the evolution of these orchids, especially this one. So you know the drill. If you liked this video or you found it interesting, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe to my channel for regular orchid videos, tutorials, experiments, Q&As, and other fun stuff. And if you'd like YouTube to notify you whenever I upload a new video, just turn on all notifications for my channel. And with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!